Good morning. Welcome back to the hangar. We're in our world headquarters here in the heart of the USA. So we're about 30 hours out of paint now on our Project 67 Camaro. So this is what it looks like right as the paint comes out of the gun in the booth and whatnot. So there's now what happens next in this process of building this car is we're going to make this paint look like crap before we make it look really good. So we got about an 8-step process that's going to occur now, and I'm going to start with 1500 grit, and I'm not sure that's going to do it. I may have to go to 1000 grit. And what we're going to do is we are going to sand this whole car with first 1000 or 1500, depending on how this goes, and we'll do that dry. In other words, no water on the paper. And then we're going to switch over and we're going to go to 2000 grit sandpaper or 1500, depending on the order we go in. 1500 or 2000, we're going to start that wet, and then we'll progress to 2500 grit, and then we'll switch over to the machine and we'll go to 3000 grit, and then we'll go to 5000 grit. Now these sand, when you start getting into 5000, I mean, you can't even feel the grit on it. It's essentially, at that point, you're essentially starting the polishing process. And the polishing process is a 3-step process where we will we'll cut the car first with a compound on one pad, and then we're going to switch to a polish on a different pad, and then the third and final step is it's just another iteration of the polish, but it's crazy shiny, and that is on another pad. So again, all of this stuff is done by hand. As you're seeing on these cars, you can cut. A lot of shops they'll cut with a machine. I don't like that. I think I get better results by cutting by hand on the initial cutting. Sanding is what I mean there, on the initial steps. So that's the way I do it. I've tried it lots of different ways, and this is what I feel like gives me the best results, so that's what we're going to do. As you can imagine, none of this stuff is fast. So this is what it'll look like. I will just take and I will make this nice shiny door look like crap. And we are going to work our way through the whole panel this way. And this is gonna, part of the process here is involves getting the dirt out of the panel, any little things that got into the clear when we painted it, and the other part of it is cutting any orange peel. An orange peel is like the surface of an orange where it's not perfectly flat. So the goal, and I'll bring the camera in as I get a little further, but we're going to sand this until the whole thing is dead flat and there's no ripples, no variations, and no dirt before we progress to the next finer grit, whatever that is, depending on where I start here. This is the most lengthy part of cutting your paint. Because this involves getting the orange peel out, and then and any dirt that has gotten in it. So it takes the longest. After that, you're essentially just removing the scratches from each previous grade of paper. So lengthy process. Again, I'm not going to have you sit here and ask you to sit there and watch me sand this entire car again, but that's what we're going to do, at least this portion of it. Also, I'm wearing jeans right now, which is fine because I'm going to work my way around the doors and the quarter panels of the car. Before I go to the hood and the trunk lid area, any of that, I'm going to switch into sweatpants because in order to get to the center of the roof and whatnot, I'm going to have to be, well, I mean, I'll open the door, but I just don't like working around any car with anything on that can scratch it, and jeans have got those little brass, whatever they are, plus the zipper, plus anything. So when this paint is as soft as what it is right now. You've got to be really cognizant of what you do around it, including what you're wearing. The longer the paint sits, the harder it gets. And this window here is about the timeline I like to start. I like to start cutting it, depending on the temperatures that it's been exposed to. It is the middle of December here, and of course I have the shop heated, but that's not the same as being 90 degrees outside. So there you are. That's what's next here at the hangar, and I will give you an updates as we go along. Okay, little update on sanding. As you can see, I've cut this door until it is completely flat. See one little tiny piece of something in here. So I go over it and over and over it. And every time you change your perspective at how you look at it, you may pick up something else, like I just did that. So little tiny piece of something in there, I'll nib that out. So I did switch to sanding it by wet, sanding the whole car wet instead of dry. Sometimes it's just a feel, and I didn't like the way the dry felt, so I went with started water sanding it, and I'll show you what that looks like here. And I am using 1500, making sure I got the right paper on here. So I'm just going to sand a small area here. And as you can see, I don't know how well that's showing up, but you can't tell how far you've cut. So what I do to check that, I've seen people use squeegees and all kinds of things. I don't like running a squeegee on the car. So I use a towel, I use air, I dry it, and then when it dries, I can see how far I've cut. And I'll bring the camera in here, attempt to. So there is what it looks like, and I will keep water sanding, drying and blowing it dry and checking it to check the progress. I want to keep as much clear on the car as I can. I obviously don't want to cut too far because it has it's very bad. So I don't even know if that little flaw will show up. Anyway, trust me, there's one there. So anyhow, that's the process we're going to be working on here for the next, I don't know how long, however long it takes. And that I've got that door pretty well done down to 1500 grit. So the next thing will be 2500 or 2000, depending on what, actually probably what I have on hand. Either one will work fine. So that's the update on water sanding the car. As you can see, we've got a long way to go before we even switch paper. All right, just a quick update. You can see I haven't gone very far on this door, but I want to illustrate what I'm talking about. As nice as the paint looks, when you start cutting it, and I left this in various stages, you can see in here where it's not cut all the way, and that is the orange peel. So we're looking to cut until we get to, well, is there a smooth spot? Somewhere over in here, because I just started this. And this is a piece of dirt, or crud, or who knows what, another small one there. So we're going to sand until we remove all those things. We're going to work our way through the whole car. So that is an illustration of what I was talking about. The other thing is these hard edges or character lines in a panel. You've got to be very careful with your sandpaper there. You can't roll your paper over the edge of those. You want to cut right up to them, but you don't want to cut the very edge. It's difficult to do. You've got to be careful, as you will just, with that hard edge in the paper, you'll cut right down to your primer in a hurry if you're not exceedingly careful. And if you cut through the clear and you get down to the paint, your reward is you get to redo the entire panel. So, and when you're talking about an entire panel, you've got to paint to a hard line, meaning the edge of the panel. So you can see where if you're into the quarter panel here and you cut through someplace on that quarter panel, you don't see any hard edges, meaning you're repainting the roof, both quarters, all the way to this hard line right here on the back. And I experienced that once myself. I was not happy. I was watching one of those car shows the other day, and one of the mechanics screwed up an area that required a significant repaint, and due to his carelessness, and he's a rather big dude, the mechanic, and he commented that the painter was running around like a chihuahua. The painter, not a real big dude, and I'll tell you what comes to mind for me if somebody screws up the paint out of carelessness after all this, that scene from Indiana Jones comes to mind. The first one, where the guy comes out wielding a sword, and he just says, yeah. Chihuahua this bitch, and shoots him. Anyway, that's it for right now. Okay, keeping you updated on Camaro water standing. We've gotten this panel here below the rear window done. We've got the left quarter done. We've got the left door done. So we started this morning at 0450. It is now 0915. So 4 hours and 25 minutes, and we've succeeded in making a little less than half of what's done here. Well, actually with the back panel. We've succeeded in, not even close. We've succeeded in making this much of the car look like crap. So that's real progress here at the hangar this morning. And like I say, you don't have to spend this long doing it. A lot of places, they just won't. But if you're shooting for as perfect as you can make it, well, it takes time. So that's what we're giving it. Keep you updated on the fun, unless you want to let me go for a live feed and watch me sand forever.